All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Good evening, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here, for spending a Wednesday evening with us after work. I know that makes for a long day, but I hope you're excited. We're super excited to have you here. This is our first Lumberjack Family Chat out of four, so we will have three more. And today we will be focusing on new student onboarding, your students' next steps to take over the summer, and advising. How can you get your student enrolled? So we got a lot of questions from you all. That's super helpful, and we love getting those questions. And we will get to those in a moment. Before we will actually get an opportunity to hear from our amazing panelists. So we have representation from advising, admissions, and first year experience who are going to tell you more about these amazing opportunities for your student to get on the right track for their fall here at NAU. After we hear from them, we will have the panel. So I'll be asking a lot of the questions that you had included in the registration form. So again, thank you for having those. We did get a lot of registrations, so we won't be able to answer all of them today, but we do have some amazing specialists who are in the Q&A. So you will not be answering questions in the chat feature. I'm actually going to turn that off. And then you will ask your questions in the Q&A. And for our guests, if you can just let us know if you can see the Q&A button, that would be helpful, or I can provide some additional instructions. But there's typically a bar. Okay, we see it. Okay, that's awesome. Okay, I'm turning the chat off. Again, thank you so much for participating and introducing yourself this evening. But for the questions, you can ask in the Q&A, and you're welcome to start doing that at any time. So when we start the Q&A, again, please make sure you're using that feature. You can switch back and forth and you can see questions that have already been answered. You may have the same questions as a lot of other family members, so that's super helpful. And before we get started, I do want to just acknowledge that NAU sits at the base of the San Francisco Peaks on homeland sacred to Native Americans throughout the region. We honor their past, present, and future generations who have lived here for millennia and will forever call this place home. I also want to mention that at the end of our webinar, we will have a guest from Veteran and Military Services who's going to join us. So if you have questions related to services, resources, financial aid for veteran and military affiliated families, please stay online for that. And I'm really excited to introduce Ben. I'm going to go ahead and let him come on here and introduce himself, and he's going to tell you more about new student onboarding.
Great. Yes. Thank you, Micheline, and great to see everybody this evening. I'm Ben Carver. I'm the Director of First Year Experience and just wanted to share a couple basic things with you all about our new student onboarding. Here at NEU, we call orientation onboarding, and that's to reflect kind of the hybrid, flexible nature of how we help students transition to their first semester at NAU. And just wanted to point out that new student onboarding is, you could think of it as a triad or maybe three legs of a stool. So there are kind of like three main parts to it. And the first is the onboarding for new students Canvas course. That is a course that contains a lot of the foundational information that your new student will need in order to be successful here at NAU. I won't go through all the topics that are in there, but there are things in there about financial aid, about getting your JAX card, about campus living, how to get involved on campus. So it covers really the gamut, a wide swath of things related to academics, getting involved socially, and, kind of some of the nuts and bolts of university life. How to access campus health services is another one that comes to mind. But that's all going to launch on May 15th. And you can scan that QR code there on my slide if you'd like to learn more about that. And your student will be getting an email about this um, on May 15th that the course is available and they can get in there and start checking it out. So that's kind of the first big piece. The second is what you're doing right now, the Lumberjack Family Chats. So as Micheline already mentioned, there's four of these. And so this is another way we support students and families is through these Q&A sessions. And then finally, the third leg of the stool, if you will, is Welcome Week. So that's August 20th through September 2nd. And basically what Welcome Week is a series of in-person events for new students to kind of kick off the fall semester. And I think we'll get into this a little bit more later, but some of those events are specific to new students and some of them are for everybody. But yeah, that last piece is really about in-person connection and getting excited and getting connected for the fall semester.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ben. And we'll hear from Ben again in a little bit when we get to the panel. Next, we're going to hear from Lauren Rosales and Holland Fields.
Awesome. Thanks so much for being here, everyone. My name is Lauren Rosales. I serve as Assistant Director for First Year Recruitment. So I work in our admissions office. I'm really excited to have you here today. So, some of the tips that we have for your new students first is checking their email. So, Ben just mentioned that your students are going to be getting an email on the 15th about new student onboarding, and your students have an NAU email. They received this information of how to log into their email shortly after they were admitted to the university. They would have used this information to also access their Louis account and work through some of their next steps. I recommend students check their email once or twice a week, especially after they've accepted their offer, just to make sure they're not missing any important updates. Some of the next steps to enrollment they can look forward to include submitting transcripts. So students should wait until they graduate from high school, complete their final courses, maybe complete some of those college courses if they're doing dual enrollment. And they should plan to request and submit those transcripts by July 1st. That way we can process them and there's no delays on financially dispersing in August. I'm going to pass it over to Holland to talk a little bit about the academic advising piece for next steps.
Awesome. Yeah, my name's Helen Fields and I work in advising. And to piggyback off of transcripts real quick, make sure that they're signed. That is very helpful. But what students can do to get started to get their first schedules, which they're probably so excited for, is to first, they want to fill out their priority enrollment. So they should have received an email. If you're getting the message, check emails. That's number one lesson in college. And so do your priority enrollment. And what that does is it allows an advisor to enroll them in their first semester classes. And then, equally as important, is to schedule an advising appointment to go over that schedule, to make any changes, and to talk through their questions for coming here in the fall.
Awesome. So continuing with next steps, applying for housing. So although not required, almost 90% of our incoming freshmen live on campus their first year. So it is really a great opportunity for students to be connected, close to classes, close to resources. Our housing application is open. We do have an upcoming priority deadline for housing, which is May 15th. We'll talk a little bit about that in just a bit. But we do keep the housing application open as long as we have capacity. So regardless of where your students are in the process, they can still do their housing application. And then move in. You might have questions about when do we move in? What do we do? What's that process? So move in starts August 19th. You can start making your travel plans now. Students will receive an email over the summer where they can actually pick their move in date and time that fits best in their schedule. And then get ready to get comfortable on campus. Next thing students should do, I mentioned checking the email. NAU ID is going to be related to that. If your student has any questions, be sure to have them reach out to their admissions rep and we can direct them through that process of getting into their account. Next thing is to review financial aid information early. Many of your students have submitted their FAFSA, maybe scholarship applications. That information is viewable on their Louis account. If you do have questions, you can always reach out to our Office of Scholarships and Financial Aid. This phone number leads directly to that office, and they are happy to assist with any questions. Your students would have received their financial aid package or their award letter via email. So make sure they are, again, checking that email. A really great resource for students to do now, parents as well, can download the NAU Go and the NAU Safe app. So the NAU Go app has a lot of really great resources. If students are getting their student ID digitally, they'll access that through their NAU Go app. The NAU Safe app is a great resource for students. They can get push notifications, they can track their location, they can report things, and be up to date on things that are going on campus. And that's a great way for families to be connected as well. Students can complete their FERPA. So this is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. So this helps us as a university know what information we can share with parents and other approved people. So students can complete their FERPA. It's a pretty quick process. They can update that at any time. And then finally, encouraging your students to get involved. So Ben mentioned a lot of the things that are happening with new student onboarding, these family chats, other resources, and encouraging your student to look at some of those activities that are happening during Welcome Week, see what will catch their eye and be a great start to their semester, will really help them be set up for success. And then on this screen, you will see QR codes. The one with my name is attached to our Find My Rep page. So your admissions representative is here to help you out. I work with our students coming from the Flagstaff area and students coming from Montana or Utah. But I see we have people coming from all across the state, all across the country. So you can scan that QR code to see who your assigned admissions representative is. And then the QR code with Holland's name will connect you straight to our advising website, some really great resources, videos, and priority enrollment that Holland mentioned.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that overview. I hope it is helpful. And one of the questions we got a lot in the registration was, how do we know important dates? So these are not all of the dates that you'll need to know, but these are a lot of them as your student moves through the summer and into their fall semester. We will have these dates available in the Lumberjack Family Hub. If you're a part of that, feel welcome to use the React button. It's fun to see who's in the Lumberjack Family Hub already. We also have another QR code labeled important dates that'll take you to the registrar's office, and here you can find important dates for enrollment if you want to support your student through that process, finals, like final exams and things like that. And then there's also a link for holidays. But here you can see some of the holidays that will be happening during the fall semester. The next big date, which Lauren mentioned already and will mention again, is that the priority date to apply for housing is this Friday. So that one is coming in hot. Make sure you're nudging your student to take care of their campus living to-dos. And then in August, we had some questions about tuition and things like that. Fall tuition due date is August 17th. And we had so many questions about move-in. I know that's really exciting and it's a big move. So students will be able to select that August 19th through the 23rd. And some other ones I just want to point out are Welcome Week, which Ben had talked about, Family Weekend. We hope to see you all back for Family Weekend. And then Homecoming. A lot of families will also come for Homecoming. And then I also want to point out that we will be offering free NAU family calendars. These will be available during Welcome Week. So come see me or some of my team will be at the college receptions where you can get one of those. That'll have all of these dates and more, and they'll also have tips for supporting your student throughout the year. If you're not able to make it to the college reception, we'll have the calendars in our Welcome Center. So if you've taken a tour, then you visited us in the Welcome Center before. Okay, now we're at the panel, so we're really excited to get started here. I just want to point out again, you're going to use the Q&A feature to ask questions. The chat has been turned off until the end. So if you can ask your questions there, that would be very helpful. Again, today we are focusing on new student onboarding, next steps, and advising. And you might have a lot of other questions that are related to financial aid or campus living or other things. Please feel welcome to put those in the Q&A. We do have experts there too, and we want you to be able to ask those questions. And then at any point, you can scan these QR codes. If you want to learn more about onboarding, you could scan the one under Ben's name. If you want to learn more about connecting with your admissions rep, right below Lauren's name. And then if you want to learn more about enrollment, and I know we had so many questions about how does my student enroll in classes, scanning that QR code is a really good place to start. All right, panelists, are we ready? Am I getting a thumbs up? Yeah. Okay. The first question is for Ben. What specific programs and resources are available to help first-year students integrate into NAU?
Yeah, that's a great question and right in my wheelhouse, right? So there's a ton of stuff that NAU has available for this, but I'm going to highlight a few things this evening. The first one is related to our pre-semester opportunities for new semesters. So we have a program called the Freshman Intensive Transition Program. That is for new students taking specific classes. So that includes Bio 181, Chem 151, Astronomy 180, Psych 101, and then also if your student is a JAX Jumpstart participant, then they can participate in our Lumberjack Success Experience. All of those opportunities allow your student to move onto campus early on Monday, August 17th, and basically build academic momentum going into their first semester, going into their first days of the semester. They attend mock lectures and labs and just get a feel for what college academics and life is like. I also want to mention there's another opportunity called the Edge Leadership Program for first year students. So if they want to come to campus and learn leadership skills and meet other new students, that's a great opportunity as well. That one also begins on Monday, August 17th. So there's some semester opportunities available for your student. That's number one. Number two, I would say there are some great support classes available. You can encourage your student to enroll in a class like NE100, Transition to College. They can enroll in a first year seminar. Typically, that's an FYS 121, another great support class. And then thirdly, if your student is in the honors college, there's Honors 100. So all of those support classes are great options as well. And then I also want to mention mentoring. There's Mountain Jacks mentoring for first year students. That's one of NAU's kind of signature mentoring programs. But there's also mentoring for first gen students and other populations as well. So lots of opportunities for mentoring. And then, I could just keep going, Micheline, about this, but the one last thing I'll mention is clubs and orgs. And we'll be hearing more actually from LNE Leadership and Engagement, who does a lot of this involvement work for students in our third chat, July 15th. But I'll just put in a quick plug for them here and say that they've got tons of opportunities through their club fair. They've got a club fair right before school starts on Sunday, August 23rd. And then there's also True Blue Connects. So your student can head on to True Blue Connects, check out all the different clubs and orgs that are available online at any time. So um, those are some key things that I think about when thinking about first year students and how can they get involved, how can they get connected in their early weeks on campus.
Awesome. Thank you. And it's been a while since I was a college student, but I remember when I was making the move, I moved pretty far away from home. And so I was like, how am I going to meet people? And I started looking at those clubs and organizations during the summer, which helped me dream about my new life,
Yeah,
and also helped me find a place where I fit in. And something that's really cool about college is your people are at college. Like you're going to find the people who have the same interest as you. Um, like if you really like Taylor Swift or Star Wars, or there's an lettuce eating club, like there's a place for your
really. Okay.
student. Yes. So encourage your student to start looking at that, encourage them to get excited, ask them questions like what are they interested in? Who do they want to meet? Who do they want to be? It's a really exciting time. So thanks for providing all of that information, Ben. Our next question is for Lauren. As the fall nears, what steps do students need to take to live on campus?
Great question. So I mentioned that NAU ranks in the top 1% for housing capacity. So we have a lot of different options. Our housing application is open and has been open since October or November. So the application process is multiple steps. First step would be to actually create the application for housing, and you can go to nau.edu/campus living. And in that application, students will create a profile. So they will answer questions about their living habits. Maybe they are someone who wakes up really early or goes to bed super late. Maybe they're really clean. Maybe they are a little messier. They can answer questions based on those living habits and then include a bio. So for example, I might have said in my bio, hi, I'm Lauren. I'm from Washington. I'm majoring in hotel and restaurant management. I love the outdoors. I'm excited to be at NAU. Here are some of my other hobbies. So that's a really great way for students to find potential roommates that will be compatible with them. And then there is a $100 housing application fee that students will pay once that is posted to their account. Step 2 is actually a roommate search. So once students submit that application, create that profile, they will be able to search for roommates. They can look at compatibility, they can look at the bios, they can start making connections with students that they may want to live with. If your student knows somebody that they want to live with, maybe they have a friend also coming to NAU, they can find them in the housing application and request to be roommates. And then they are in what we call a roommate group. Then the third step is actually picking the room. So students will get a housing room selection date. Your students may have already gotten this email where they actually log back into their housing portal and pick the room that they want to live in. So if they want to live maybe in Seacrest Hall on the 8th floor, they are able to pick the room that is available. There is a $175 housing rent confirmation fee that is due by May 15th. And that will solidify their spot on campus. If your students have any questions, we do have campus living here in the chat, so you're welcome to drop those questions in here. I strongly recommend living on campus. I lived on campus for 3 years, and it was a really positive experience for me specifically, and for many other students that also live on campus.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lauren. I love living on campus too. I actually lived on campus for all 4 years. And I mentioned earlier, you'll meet your people in college, and living on campus is one of the ways to do that. I remained very good friends with a lot of the people that I met in my campus living community. So thank you. All right. This question is for Holland. What are the first couple of steps that students should take to enroll in their fall 2026 classes? This question came up so many times in the registration.
Yeah, no, we love answering it. And I said it earlier too, it's priority enrollment. So they want to submit that. And what priority enrollment is it's a place for students to list their preferences, like what are some of their career goals? What questions may they have? Are they morning people? Would they prefer classes at night? And so an advisor then would take those into consideration with their major or their interest and build them a first year or a first semester schedule. And that schedule can still be adapted and adjusted with the advisor. And so that's why we then say they need to schedule an advising appointment. Something, I'm going to make this plug here, that we have found over the last few years is that students who connect with an advisor on a regular basis, that could be as minimum as one time a semester, end up having higher GPA and persistence towards graduation. So we're finding this link in this relationship that they build with their advisor supports them in their success as a student. And they're committed to that holistic support, that it's not just about getting in the grades and da 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 da. It's about, who are you? Is this major a good fit? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the classes and the capacity that you have. So I think if you scan my little QR code, there's a link that you can go to that is for new students. You go to talk to an advisor and then new students, and there's then the steps for priority enrollment and then scheduling that advising appointment.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Holland. All right, Ben, we've got another one for you. What is Welcome Week and how is it related to new student onboarding? And how do families know which events that they should attend?
Yeah, great question. So you could think of Welcome Week as kind of this big umbrella that kicks off the fall semester and includes events for all students, as well as some specific ones for first year students too. And things really kick off on August 20th and then go through September 2nd, like I previously mentioned. But some of the, you know, traditions around Welcome Week include the Welcome Week Festival, which is on Saturday, August 22nd. Um, and so that's a great one for folks to attend. And as previously mentioned, the college receptions, I'll kind of highlight that one too, which those receptions are on Friday, August 21st, 1 to 3 o'clock. And that's an event that's specifically open to everybody. So that includes families, that includes new students, and that's also a great time to come and sort of check out campus. We'll talk a little bit more about that later as well. But yeah, you could think of Welcome Week as this big umbrella, and then underneath that are some specific things like the college receptions, the Lumberjack launch, and the NAU letters that are all for first year students and are kind of more onboarding slash orientation focused. Um, yeah, so I hope that kind of clarifies how onboarding relates to Welcome Week. There's a lot of overlap between those two things.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And for everyone who's in the Q&A in the back there, for our guests, if you can react with how excited you feel about Welcome Week, that would be awesome. The react feature is in one of the Zoom bars. You can click on that. I'm going to give one because I'm very excited to see you all. I see some hands raised. I think those hands are for excitement. I'm going to take them as excitement. You're raising the roof. Me too. I'm very excited. Okay, so our next question is for Lauren. It's another one related to campus living. So, families, if you're excited about moving, also please go ahead and put in a reaction to there. It's a very special time. When will students hear more about move-in dates for living on campus so that families can prepare for traveling?
Great question. The official start for NAU Move-In is Wednesday, August 19th. I know Ben mentioned a few opportunities for students to move in early. If you're not participating in those, you can start moving in August 19th. Students will receive an email over the summer. So again, make sure they're checking their NAU email with information about signing up for a move-in date and time. We have plenty of move-in dates and times available anywhere between August 19th through August 23rd. So you can start making your travel plans now. If you know or your student knows, I want to move in day one, make your travel plans now, even before you've actually signed up for that move-in spot, because we are very accommodating. But we do have the times spaced out to make the experience less stressful for you. We have staff on campus that are dedicated to supporting people as they're moving in. We have signs across campus so you know exactly where you need to go, where you're parking, where you're unloading. So we really make it an easy and stress-free process, as easy as it can be for moving in. We also, again, you don't need to wait to book your travel. You can start doing that now. August 19th is that first day for move-in.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lauren. And we will be hearing from Campus Living during our third Lumberjack Family Chat that will be in July. And so you'll get to hear from a Campus Living representative, an expert, which will be really awesome. As someone who works with families very often, I do just want to encourage families, start talking with your student about things like how to talk with their roommate. How do they plan? What's it going to be like to live with another person? How do you deal with maybe some disagreements or discomfort? Like maybe your roommate's putting their sock on your bed or something. How are you going to have that discussion? So start having those discussions now, and that will set them up for success. And then we also have a lot of great resources in place to help students navigate those things. So encourage your student to check out those resources so that when they call you, can point them in that direction.
One thing
All
I'll
right, our
add,
next. Oh,
Micheline,
yes,
sorry, one
please
thing I'll
add.
add for move-in is we do have some resources on our Campus Living website about what to bring and what not to bring. So as you're packing your student up, figuring out what are the necessities, we have a really great list of what to bring, what you maybe need to bring, and what you should not bring. So that can be really helpful.
Yes. And as the VP of Campus Living always says, you do not need a U-Haul. So if you've heard that, please go ahead and use the react button. I love seeing your reactions. It makes me happy. It makes me know that you are engaged, which I love. So please go ahead and use the react button. Yes. Okay. Love to see it. And then I do want to let you all know I'm putting a couple links into the chat while I can, but I will be sending a follow-up email that will have important links. So the what to bring link that Lauren was just talking about, I'm going to send that to you. So you don't need to go on and find it and do all that work. All right, Holland, are you ready? I'm going to use your face as the react button. It looks like a smiley emoji, so we're good to go. What are some good ways for students to get involved on campus? Do you have any advice for students who might be a little shy or really
Yeah.
shy?
So really shy. Yeah. Um, so first, there are many ways Ben talked about. True Blue Connects, all the Welcome Week things. Advice though for those who are shy is that you're not alone there's a lot of other shy people. And so it really is this like step out and be brave and ask one person to just go do something with you. Go to the welcome week thing that's happening when you get to campus. Invite someone in your dorm hall to go have lunch with you. And it is so scary, right? But that's kind of how you do it. You just have to show up. And I think be the person who's going to make the first friendship move, right? And I love how it's been woven in a little bit of like start having those conversations now and like start thinking about, okay, if I'm a shy person typically, how can I show up and engage and make friends? But it is such a good, everyone's in the same energy and momentum. You know, it's new for everybody. And so I like to remember or like to remind students that like everyone is in the same boat as you. So go show up. And you don't need to make a million friends. Just get to know the person next to you, ask them their name. So we could keep going on and on, but the other piece that's really helpful is we do have mentor programs. And so those are students who have been a few steps ahead, even maybe a semester ahead of these students. And they're good friends and mentors that can help guide your students through experience of, hey, here's how you sign up for classes. Here's how I made friends. Here's something that I showed up to that was really supportive.
I love that. Thank you. And thanks for sharing about mentors. I think they're super important and can be so helpful. I want to share a story that I heard recently working with a student. She was a bit shy when she came to NAU, and then she went to what we call the Get Involved Lounge, which is a really cool spot where students hang out, they study, all the clubs and organizations can use that space. So it's a really great way to get plugged in with clubs and organizations. And the staff there, their whole job is to help get your student involved. So they're going to help them find their place. So along with connecting with mentors and maybe going online and seeing True Blue Connects, make sure you're also getting in that get involved space. And again, a personal story, it's been a while, but it's still relevant. But when I came to college, I met a lot of people living in my campus living community. They put on a lot of really fun events. Encourage your student, maybe if they're a little shy, maybe it feels a little easier to walk downstairs and go to some sort of fun event there. That's a really great way to meet people and get plugged in. All right, so our next question is actually for all three panelists, and we're gonna answer them in this order, Ben, Lauren, and then Holland. So this question is, if you had one piece of advice for new NAU families to make the transition smoother for their student, what would it be? And this question was in our registration, so I really appreciate whoever submitted that because it's very intentional and sweet. And like being here tonight, it shows that you really care about your student success.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I'm going to end up kind of echoing some of the things that Holland mentioned. I think my piece of advice would be to just encourage your student to be active, and to maybe get out of their comfort zone a little bit. So whether that means going to a football game, going to a movie in Proc going to the gym, or just walking around campus. I mean, I think all those things help you as a new student start to build that home away from home, and start to build that familiarity, which I think is super important. So yes, it's like we all know that academics are central, but NEU has just like a ton to offer outside of the classroom. And so that would be my advice, is just encourage them to check out different things and just kind of explore. And like Colin said, they don't have to do that alone either. We have mentors that can do that. We have NE 100 instructors that can help bring a student to an event. There's people here that can kind of be that guide, right? So that they don't have to do it alone.
That is great advice for sure. My piece of advice for families is to really challenge your student or help them practice good life work balance. I always say life work balance. And that could include getting involved, but also could mean working on campus. We have a lot of job opportunities, which can really help build connections. We have student workers in our office. We call them our True Blue ambassadors. And we have a student who I actually recruited way back when she was an incoming freshman. She worked in our office for 3.5 years. She graduated in December and actually got hired on in our office as a full-time staff member post-graduation. So some of those connections that students make from those campus jobs can actually lead to great careers, and that can start from day one.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm a parent as well. Not at this stage of college, but I'm preparing to send my kid to middle school for the first time this fall. And so, one, I want to name that you've already done it in little bits at a time. And this is like that final stage of letting go. So, I want to normalize that there's a lot of emotions and that it's hard and it's going to get clunky, and that's okay. And I think your role as a parent is shifting, their role as a young adult is shifting. And so, to be intentional, if we are the type of parents that like to do a lot and make a lot of the decisions, um, and maybe step in to fix, I'm speaking to myself, okay? I'm not calling y'all out. We may need to shift into more of a coaching type role and let our students really drive and let our kids really be the ones to start making those decisions. And so instead of like, oh, I'll set up your NAU email and schedule that advising appointment for you, that can shift to, hey, what have you done to see what classes you need to take this fall? And, they don't know what they don't know. That's their, you're their parent, you still guide them, but you can be like, hey, go to this website and then see what it says. Follow the steps, right? We can nudge them in those directions and give them that practice of making good decisions and following through with that. And then one other piece that I think is really sweet is start to talk about maybe what your communication rhythms could be. Some students are gonna be like, I want to call you every day. And others are like, my brother was like, I could talk to my mom every month. It devastated her, but talk through like what works for the family. Can we have a call once a week, once a month? What can we try and do, right? What makes sense for your personalities, for your family? And so establishing those communication rhythms, I think, could be really cool to talk about and check in on. And then one last little nugget is to really prioritize your relationship over their performance as a student. They will graduate, they will succeed. But sometimes they need to have a little bumps in the road. And so to prioritize that you will be there, that you will support them through those hard times is what will get them through that finish line.
Thank you guys so much. I loved all of those nuggets a lot. I think they would have been helpful for my own family to have when I came to college. So thank you for sharing those tips and that advice for families as they work through this big transition, an exciting transition. I see a lot of reactions, by the way, and I really do love it. It fuels me. Okay, so we have about 20 minutes left of questions. So Holland, this one is for you. How does NAU advocate for students facing academic or personal difficulties?
Well, first of all, what's really cool about NAU is we operate as a big team. So if something comes to the advising world and we realize a student's struggling, we're going to guide that student to campus health, to the CARES team. And so we collaborate in that way. If our counseling folks are like, hey, a student is struggling with getting enrolled in their classes, with HIPAA, they can't necessarily refer, but they will tell students, hey, go talk to your advisor, and here's a group of people that will help you. But just to name a few, we have campus health, which helps with, the doctor's visits and also mental health support, academic success centers, tutoring. We have a writing center. All of that's free. It's access to students and they have it all there. So, what we say, it's cool to ask for help in college. And so start asking for help before things actually get really hard. We have Louie's Cupboard, which is a food pantry for students on campus that they can go to the CARES website for and sign up for. We have so many resources. And so if a student needs anything from physical to mental to emotional support, NAU has access to get them connected to that. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention too, disability resources. This is huge. So what changes in high school, a lot of times teachers and parents will do the accommodation work for students, but that changes where now students are in the driver's seat. And we recommend the process can take a little longer to receive accommodations. But if your student had an IEP or a 504 plan, or should have maybe, right, and may need extra testing or time or accommodations to be successful in their classes, to start that process with disability resources this summer. And what they'll do is they'll do an intake meeting, and then they'll finalize and talk through what your accommodations are. And then every semester, students will have to send their accommodations to their instructors. They don't have to, but what's so helpful is to at least have them, right? And so there's a lot of students who are like, I don't want that to follow me anymore. And there's no shame. It's actually so supportive. So we say, get the accommodations, and then it's their decision if they want to use them or not. But it's so nice to have them when they need them.
Yes, thank you so much, Holland. Those are all really great resources. And just a reminder, I will be sending a follow-up email, and it'll have a lot of links to the things that our panelists are talking about today. So you don't need to remember them all, and you don't need to go hunting on the website for them. I will share them with you. Um, our next question is for Lauren. And this one is financial aid related. We saw a lot of these in the registrations. How do students know whether they've received a scholarship, and how can they be evaluated or re-evaluated for merit-based scholarships?
Great question. We know finances are definitely important in the decision process. For all of our incoming freshman students, they are automatically evaluated and awarded a merit scholarship based on their unweighted GPA in the 14 classes we look at for admission. So when your students self-reported their grade on the application, we took that information, made the decision, said, yes, we want you as a lumberjack, and then we awarded them a merit scholarship. They would have received that merit scholarship notification about 2 to 4 weeks after being admitted to the university. They'll also be able to see that information on their Louis account in their financial aid award. Students also, for financial aid award letters, they received that via email. They can also see that in their Louis account. You can also reach out to our financial aid office or even your admissions rep if you're like, I can't find that letter, I don't know where that email is. We can resend that to students. If your student maybe didn't self-report their grades correctly, maybe they retook a couple of courses, maybe they're taking some college classes, your student should reach out to their admissions representative with updated transcripts, and we can review those. We also will look at final grades, recalculate a student's GPA, and if your GPA or your student's GPA increases into the next scholarship level, we will automatically update that award for them. We have additional scholarship resources on our website. I recommend students apply for scholarships and treat it as a part-time job. So it's not a one and done thing. It is something that is ongoing and should be done, throughout the year. I mentioned Louis as well as a way to see scholarship and financial aid information, and then just reach out to our financial aid office if you do have additional questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lauren. If you have additional questions about those things, please be sure to ask those in the Q&A. Now, Holland, we are going back to you. I feel like I have a lot of questions for you today, which is awesome because I love hearing from you. So we have a lot of families and students who are looking ahead, which we love. Is there some sort of classes map for what classes to take and when? And how do students know if they're taking the right classes?
Totally. There's a lot of different tools. So there is a class map. There are progression plans that I like to look at as like an ideal roadmap. Um, I use them though as a guide because every student is coming in with maybe different transfer credits or AP test scores or maybe students are starting off with a lower math placement than what the progression plan is starting with, right? So they're helpful, but we have to look at them as more of a guide and not like a strict set of rules. And so what I like to do is look at a progression plan with the catalog and their advisement report. And if these words are like, what is that? That's why you have an advisor. And advisors really will, in their first few appointments, help show them these tools. We also have a YouTube, an advising YouTube channel, and all the videos are like under 2 minutes, probably closer to one, that walk you through how to find and use these different tools. I think while they're hanging out this summer, to check them out, explore Louis, get familiar, and just look at things. And then they'll start to make sense as they meet with an advisor. And they're like, oh, I know what that is. Oh, yes, an advisement report. I think I saw that on Louis. So lots of different tools to use. I like to look at it like fun detective work. We're piecing together the puzzle for what makes sense for this student situation.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you for being alongside students as they navigate that, along
Oh,
with
yeah.
everything else. Yeah. All right. So our next question is actually for Lauren and Ben. We got a question about whether there will be an in-person tour available during Welcome Week. And are there tour options for students and their families over the summer?
Yes, great question. I'll jump in and then Ben, you can add anything that I have missed or add on. So we are still finalizing our campus tour schedule for Welcome Week. So that is TBD. However, I do know our office, the admissions office, is going to be open 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. So even if we don't have official campus tours happening, you are welcome to come into our office, sit down with an admissions rep, and get questions answered that you think of. We also have self-guided tours if you're wanting to maybe see where your classes are. I know I did that when I first started at NAU. But we do have summer tours going on right now as well. So we are in our summer schedule. So our the university is open Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And we have campus tours every day, Monday through Thursday at 10 a.m. You can go to our website, nau.edu/visit, to schedule a campus tour this summer. And then Ben, I'll let you add your thoughts.
Yeah, I'll just add one thing to that, Lauren, which is the college receptions. I mentioned this a couple times, but again, those are happening Friday, August 21st, 1 to 3. And that's an opportunity for families to come and tour academic spaces and some other different resources on campus. We're going to have two main hubs, one on North Campus and one on South. And from those two locations, we will have tours out to, like I said, different colleges, different academic buildings, and probably to some resources like financial aid as well. So that's another good opportunity if you don't have the ability to come here this summer, but you still want to kind of see what campus is like, see where your students are taking classes. So that's another possibility.
Awesome. Thank you guys. If you have visited campus and you loved it, which I bet you did, and or if you are planning to visit campus and you're excited, if you can do a reaction, that would be awesome. I'm seeing reactions. Okay, I love it. All right, our next question. How can families stay up to date about important campus news and events?
I know this one is my question, so I will jump in. So there's a lot of great resources for students and parents. I mentioned briefly our NAU Go app. This is really a great resource. There's campus maps. You can see dining hours. You can get your Jax card. We will send push notifications through the NAU Go app. So maybe we're getting some inclement weather. Maybe we're getting a snow day because it does snow here in Flagstaff. We'll send out notifications to students so they're aware of campus delays. Maybe they are needing some safety tips on how to make sure they're staying safe in the snow. So the NAU Go app is a great resource. We also have our NAU Safe app. We know safety is a top priority for parents, especially as you're sending your kiddo far away from home. And so the NAU Safe app has great resources. students can request a safety escort. So if they need, maybe don't want to walk on campus by themselves, they can request safety escorts to walk them across campus. They can report something in the app. And that's another really great, quick piece of resources for our students. Other ways parents can stay connected. We've got our Lumberjack Family Hub. So we post very detailed information, updates, need to know information. There are newsletters that go out to parents. We also have Family Weekend, so you can save the dates for Family Weekend. That'll happen September 11th through the 13th. So a few weeks after your student is moving in, we are inviting you back to campus. That was a really great event for my parents moving me from Washington State. They were able to see how well adjusted I was to campus when they came back for family weekend. Lots of really fun ways to celebrate your student being a lumberjack and coming back to campus. So we know that parents are a very important resource and advocate, and we want to make sure that you have all the tools, all the things that you need to best support your student.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lauren. That's super helpful. All right, I'm going to answer a couple of questions that I see in the Q&A real quick, and then we're going to ask our panelists the last question. And actually, one of the questions that I want to take live is for Ben. So Ben, if you could come on. What do you think is the best time for parents to leave when they drop off their students? So during welcome week and during move-in, are there activities that they should stay for?
Yeah, it's a good question. I've mentioned the college receptionist a lot, but I think that would be a good one to stick around for because it is one of the few events that's kind of family focused and family friendly. So would recommend folks hang around for that one. So I think that would be kind of my main recommendation, I guess, Micheline.
Yeah, no, that is perfect. And I remember during my move-in, again, I moved in far away from home. I moved here from Alaska. It was a long time ago now, but still relevant. My parents helped me move in, and then they were like, okay, Micheline, go make some friends. We're gonna go get some pizza. We might come back to visit you for lunch tomorrow, but it's all you now. So, and I think that was really helpful. Obviously, it's a big change. It's filled with mixed emotions. But it's how I met a lot of my very good friends that I had throughout college. So it really depends on you, but
Right, right.
your student will have the opportunity to participate in a lot of really fun things. And so encouraging them to go out and do that while you go check out Flagstaff is really great. And then the other question I wanted to answer live is for me. So I'm going to be sending out the resource links. Am I going to be sending out a copy of the Q&A? Yes, I will be sending a recording to anyone who's registered. It'll also be in the Lumberjack Family Hub. If you're in the Lumberjack Family Hub already, if you can react because it's a cool resource, I would love that. And then I will also be trying to get those onto the web page. And same with if you choose to attend our other Lumberjack Family Chats, I will be recording those. So even if you can't attend, please register and I'll make sure to get that to you. Okay, we are at our final question. I think this one is very sweet. What do you wish you knew when you were starting college? We're going to start with Lauren, and then we'll go to Ben, and then we'll go to Holland.
Yeah, this is a great question. For me, I wish that I knew it was okay to ask for help and that there were so many people that wanted me to be successful. I was a little stubborn, didn't ask for help, ended up failing a class, talked to my advisor, came up with a game plan of what I needed, utilized mentoring resources to really get me back on track, and help me not be discouraged. And there, like I said, there are so many different resources. We've talked about a small fraction of the resources that are here on campus. So some of the things, once I stopped being stubborn, that I took advantage of were Peer Jack. So at the time, it was for out-of-state students. I got to meet with a mentor, met with them a few times this semester. They really helped direct me to things that were going to be helpful for me as a student. I also worked on campus, so that was helpful for me in establishing a good life work balance. And then I also used faculty office hours. So I was a hotel and restaurant management student. And when I was struggling in a class or had questions, I went to my professor's office hours. And all faculty have office hours. That's time dedicated to students outside of the classroom. And it really helped me learn to ask for help, advocate for myself, and helped me build great connections with faculty that I still see on campus today, that I built that relationship with like 15 years ago. They really want you to succeed. They want your students to succeed. And it's great to ask for help. So that's my thing that I wish I knew when I started.
Yeah, so I'll take this maybe in a slightly different direction here. What I wish I knew. I wish I knew just how unique the college experience is and what a unique moment it is in a person's life. And um, I wish that I just would have taken advantage of everything that college had to offer. So I would just encourage your students to, go do study abroad, right? Go do an outdoor adventure sponsored by the university and just really embrace the freedom that you have in college to meet new people, experience new places, chart a path for your life, and really just explore, right, everything that college has to offer. Because as I kind of alluded to at the beginning, yes, classes are super important. They're central to what you're doing here, but there's a lot that you get to do as a college student outside of that. So, um, yeah, I wish if I were starting to college today, I would take full advantage, right, of every single thing that the institution can do for you. So,
Man, what I wish I knew. I wish I knew I could talk to people and change my major, that I wasn't stuck, and that there were probably three different paths that I could choose that would align with my strengths. Um, yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Awesome. That's all wonderful things to know as your student is getting into college. So, I want to say thank you to our amazing panelists. If you can react, I already see a lot of applause happening, which I love. And then I also want to provide that for our Q&A experts. We have experts from financial aid, advising, campus living, and admissions in the chat. And they have answered 101 questions at least. That's the last time I checked. So, families, give yourself a round of applause too. Thank you for all those questions. Thank you for being here. And thank you to our panelists and our Q&A experts answering those questions. Before we say good night, I just want to share if you have questions about financial aid or resources for veterans and military affiliated students, stay on here to hear from the director of NAU's Veteran and Military Services. And then we hope to see you again soon. So we have 3 more chats coming up. The second chat, you'll be able to meet the Office of Scholarships and Financial Aid. You'll hear from Student Accounts and Campus Health Services. Our third chat, you'll get to meet with Campus Living, Campus Dining, and First Year Success. And then our final chat will actually be a couple of weeks into the school year. So your students been here, maybe they have questions, maybe you have questions, and we would love to hear those and point you in the direction of resources. I am opening up the chat. If you can real quick just share 1 or 2 things that you learned or that made you excited today, I would love to see it. And then you can scan this QR code to register for the future events. Also, I feel silly. I never introduced myself. We had a technical difficulty and I blacked out. My name is Micheline and I'm the coordinator for family engagement here at NAU, and we're really excited to have you. We think of this as a partnership, like we're working with you into your student success. All right. And now we will have our representative from NAU's Veteran and Military Services come on. Everyone have a wonderful evening.